have with us Dr. Mandira Sikdar, who is currently an associate professor in the School of Liberal Studies and Education, Navrachana University, Vadodara. She is the chair of PhD program, head communications department, head of international collaborations at the university.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Dr. Robi, to interact with the scholars of both the universities. Thank you once again. The topic that has been assigned to me is references and paper publication. So I would begin by showing you this pic, and this is the Shodh Ganga homepage. Students, are you familiar with Shodh Ganga? Who are the students who are there in this forum? Students, are you familiar with Shodh Ganga? How many of you are aware of what is Shodh Ganga? We have a lot of students here. Students, addressed to you, please. Can you please share what do you know about Shodh Ganga? Okay, I'll go back.
Shodh Ganga, ma'am,
Yes.
it's me, Gilbert,
Yes.
a research scholar in mass communication. According to my knowledge, it's a different Indian university. Different Indian universities' theses are here in Shodh Ganga, and
Okay.
everybody can access it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you, Gilbert. Nice to have you on this forum also.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So, as he very rightly said, scholars, you can see my screen here. This is Shodh Ganga. This is India's digital repository. What do we mean by the digital repository? It is India's digital repository. So, in any university in India, wherever there has been a thesis published, you can find that thesis in Shodh Ganga. And at the moment, you're seeing the home page, that is 290,000 theses are already uploaded. And while I'm sharing this information with you, you can look at the bottom of the screen. More theses are being added. So it is 299,402. So every day there may be in some part of India a scholar who has submitted his thesis, and the same is going to be converted and uploaded electronically onto Shodh Ganga. And as I just said just now, 290,000 theses, and for everybody, students at the bottom, just below 290,000, you can find the search bar. You can look for any thesis that is relevant to your area of work, whether it is a postgraduate study or it is a doctoral dissertation. Anything that is related to your study, you just need to write down either the title of the research or the name of the researcher, and the entire study, right from introduction to references, would be available for you to see. So why am I showing you this when I should be talking about references and paper publication? Because this is only the scenario with respect to India. 290,000 doctoral dissertations uploaded on India's digital repository, Shodh Ganga. The same is true for all other countries as well. Each country has its own digital repository of research which is being done in the universities within that country. And therefore, there is a staggering amount of information, research up there on the internet for any researcher. And therefore, I would call it a researcher's delight. So if you want to write a dissertation work, you want to do a doctoral study, just imagine the amount of information available for you. Even if you only talk about the Indian scenario, no researcher can access 290,000 theses. It's impossible. But looking at it from the other side, that much of information is available for any researcher should he be wanting to do his postgraduate study, his MPhil, or his doctoral study, or even his postdoctoral research. And not only an abstract, it is given chapter by chapter. So students, I conclude that with this enormous amount of data available to any researcher, it then becomes quite simple for somebody to do their doctoral dissertation when you already have so much of available material. And in the past, it has been seen that scholars have been rampantly using material from the research work done by other scholars in order to finish their own doctoral work. And that is why even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when theses were being submitted, the reference section, the bibliography section was very, very important. But today it has become a very, very important part of the doctoral dissertation. Because with so much of available material, it is very, very difficult to discern how much of original work is done by a research scholar. And for this, there are two very, very strict measures taken by the UGC. And I'll go to the next slide, which talks about the UGC's promotion of academic integrity and prevention of plagiarism in higher education institutions. And in about 2 or 3 slides, I'm going to connect it with the topic of today's discussion, and that is referencing. So it had become quite evident that with so much of available material already available on the Indian Shodh Ganga as well as on all other universities' websites, it was noticed that there was a lot of plagiarism going on when it came to doctoral studies, when it came to dissertation. And it was getting very, very difficult to check because the internet has got so much of information, it is very difficult to make out who exactly has taken from where. And in order to address this issue of academic integrity, in order to address this issue of plagiarism, UGC came out with its own regulations 2018, calling it the Promotion of Academic Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Educational Institutions. It was given in 2018. And I'll just take a few minutes to explain what exactly is plagiarism. It is the process or practice of using another person's ideas or work and pretending that it is your own. Cambridge Dictionary. It is presenting somebody else's work or ideas as your own with or without their consent, by incorporating it into your work without full acknowledgement. All published and unpublished material, whether in manuscript, printed, or electronic form, is covered under this definition. And after today's students, plagiarism may be intentional or unintentional. You may, not you, a scholar may just say that I'm sorry, I did not know. But this definition clearly says whether the scholar knows or does not know the act of plagiarism has been committed. Definition number 3, it is to steal and pass off the ideas or words of another as one's own. Use another's production without crediting the source, without giving due credit to the source, given by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And lastly, an act or instance of using or closely imitating the language and thoughts of another author without authorization, and the representation of that author's work is one's own, as by not crediting the original author. Dictionary.com. So from this slide, it is quite evident that even if there is very, very similar work which has happened in one's area of research, it is the duty of every scholar to give acknowledgement to any researcher who has worked in that area of work. It may be related, it may be distantly related, but that has to be given due acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement will be given in the reference section. And UGC has also taken it one step further, that after this regulation has been posted on their website in the year 2018, the penalties which are associated with this is also made very clear to all doctoral scholars. On completion of the entire doctoral work, and when the soft copy of the entire thesis is ready, if any similarity is found that a scholar has taken work from another researcher, and if any similarity is found up to 10%, no penalty is given to the scholar. But if the scholar has taken material from another researcher, between 10 to 40% similarity is found, the student, even after 5 years, even after 6 years, will be asked to submit a revised script within a period of 6 months. And if the similarities are above 40 to 60%, it is a very serious issue, and the scholar shall be debarred from submitting a revised script for over a period of 1 year. So till 1 year, the doctoral dissertation cannot be submitted. And if the similarity is above 60%, the student's registration for PhD can be cancelled. So UGC is very, very concerned about academic integrity. And that brings us to the topic of today, that is referencing. What is referencing? Referencing is giving due acknowledgement to the author and to his work. Referencing is a way of telling that yes, you did find that work useful and you did take portions of that work and used it to further your own research. Reference is giving due respect to the researcher who has conducted a research before you did, and sharing that particular work and showing its relevance to your work. So referencing is a very, very important part today in order to establish your own academic integrity. And it is a professional ethic. No one really knows from where a scholar would have taken material to write his chapters. But the author himself should practice that academic integrity to say that this is the person from whom I have taken some kind of help with in chapter 1, 2, 3, or 4. And this is the reference of that author, the year in which the study was conducted, the topic of the title of the study, where it is presently published, whether it is a published manuscript or an unpublished manuscript. Every detail has to be given so that if at any point of time when the scholar's research is put up on Shodh Ganga, anyone reading that research in any corner of the world is going to see that the scholar has taken certain ideas, content from a particular thesis, but has given due acknowledgement in the reference section to that particular author. And this is what we call citation. You're citing the name of that author, you're giving full details of that author, and you're also acknowledging that yes, you did find that work useful and you have used the content from that dissertation for the betterment of your research. There's nothing wrong in it. It becomes wrong when you use the work but you fail to give the acknowledgement. It becomes wrong when you take the work but you do not want the world to know that it belongs to somebody else. The scholar wants to pass it on as his own work. That is wrong. When we talk about citation styles, there are 3 primary citation styles. There is the APA citation style, of which I'm going to talk today, the American Psychological Association, which is presently in its 7th edition. And it is used by education, psychology, and sciences. We also have the MLA, the Modern Language Association citation style. It is used by the other subjects or the other subjects under humanities. Education and psychology generally follows the APA, the American Psychological Association. And as I said, right now we are in the 7th edition. You have the Chicago style, which is generally used by business, history, and the fine arts. But after this also, it is completely dependent upon the university to decide what citation style to adopt. And in Navrachana University, we have adopted APA, the American Psychological Association, and all our referencing is done as per the 7th edition, which is the latest edition. So what does the latest edition talk about? There are many changes even from the 6th edition. And referencing has to be done in a particular pattern. So here I have for you directly from the APA homepage, the 7th edition. For example, if you're writing about a particular author, and at the moment it is a journal article. So you write the name of the author, the surname comes first, followed by the initials of the first name. There are 2 authors here, author A and author B. You write the year in which this particular article was published, the title of the article, which was written by both the authors, not in italics, it has to be not in italics. The name of the periodical has to be in italics, volume number, issue number, and after that comes the page numbers. So this journal article, which was published by authors A and B, was published in which periodical, what was the volume and issue number, and what were the page numbers, followed by the DOI, which is the Digital Object Identifier, which is nothing but the URL, which will be able to, for example, if a third scholar were to look at this study uploaded in Shodhganga, and if he were to click on the URL, the DOI, the Digital Object Identifier, he would be able to exactly locate this article on the internet. So this is with reference to the journal article. If you have, for example, taken some kind of help or material from a book, then how do we write it? Again, you have the author A and author B, if there are 2 authors, the copyrighted year, which will be given in the book itself. Earlier, we used to write the ISSN number, the ISBN number. Right now in the 7th edition, the most important information is the DOI or the URL, assuming that many of these books would have been converted into ebooks. But if these books are still not converted into ebooks, then yet we will go ahead with the ISBN number, the title of the book. So you have the author's name, the copyright year, the title of the book, the publisher, and finally the DOI or the URL, if it is today an ebook. If it is still not an ebook, it is still a hard copy, then in many cases, I find that we still adopt the 6th edition, in which we have the ISBN number. Then we go to a chapter in an edited book. So you have someone who has come out with an edited book, and many authors have been given one chapter in which to write in that edited book. So assuming there are 2 authors, you have author A and author B, the copyright here. And then comes the title of the book chapter, the chapter which these 2 authors have written in. The names of the 2 editors who have edited that book, the title of the book in italics. So you see, the primary source of information is always in italics. If I were to go to this slide, the primary source of information is the periodical. The title of the article is the article which the authors have written, but the primary source of information is the periodical in italics, the book in italics, and here also the book in italics. So that's the primary source of information from where you're going to get the chapter. So you have to first identify the book, and in that book you're going to get the chapter. So the title of the book, whether it is the 2nd edition or the 1st edition, page numbers, the total number of pages which have been written by these 2 authors, the publisher of that book, again, the DOI or the URL. Again, if this book for some reason has not been yet converted into an ebook, then we continue with the 6th edition and we continue to write the ISBN number. So every possible detail of the book, of the author, of the journal, of the chapter, of the page number, of the volume, of the issue has to be given in the reference section. Very, very important. And this is what we call professional ethics, that I may have borrowed some kind of material relevant to my research work, but every detail of where I took it from should be given in the reference section. This is the style, the APA, American Psychological Association 7th edition, is what is being followed at Navrachana University. So we hope and expect that all scholars who are submitting their theses, even all of them who are right now in their postgraduate programs, would write their references in this particular format. Not only this, even in the body of the text, I've just taken a paragraph randomly, not really related to any topic, but I took it because there are so many authors here. So even in the body of the text, if I, as a scholar, am arguing about a particular, I'm doing a critical analysis of the work that has been done in my area for the last 25 years, the literature review, in order to do a gap analysis. Even there, I'm talking about certain researches which have happened in my field and which I find relevant to my work. Even in the body of the text, it is the duty of every scholar to give the citations. So I find that certain theories were established in the period of last 25 years, which I think is very, very important for my study. So while I'm writing the literature review, I may be referring to those studies because they are the ones which have given me the direction to continue my study. Then even in the body of the text, whether it is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, I must continuously be giving these incitations. And if I was to know finally, for example, as a third person, I'm looking at somebody's thesis which has been uploaded. And in the second line, I see Jones, Lancaster, and Stevens, 1996. Now, I really would like to know, how can I get access to this particular book? Because even one sentence that I have read, they have studied the relationship between WCM and firm profitability. My entire study focuses on WCM and firm profitability. And I want to know how to access that book. Is it a book? Is it a journal article? Is it a chapter in a book? What is it? I want to know. So I go to the reference section. And in the reference section, I would find the names of the authors, the year in which that particular article was published, the name of the article that was written by these authors, the name of the journal. Unfortunately, this one should be, it is Small Business Economics, and it should be in italics because that's the name of the primary source. 39 is the journal, that's the volume number. 2 is the issue number. 517 to 529 is the number of pages of this article, and the digital object identifier, where exactly I would find it in the internet. Now you must be wondering that I spoke of another author and showing you another author. So it was just purely by, it was an error. So I'm going to talk about this author. This is the author that I found most relevant to my work, and I have used the name. So when I was reading the literature review and the gaps, I found that this work that was done by Juan Garcia Teruel and Martinez Solano 2013 as very, very relevant to my work. And I must read this once again. I must see what exactly is the nature of the work and how much help I would be getting in terms of my own research. So I move out from chapter 2 and I go to the reference section, and I go to that particular section which has been written alphabetically. So here is the article. And if I want to read the complete article because it's very, very relevant to my area of work, then I am given the DOI and I can access the complete article from this DOI, which is nothing but the internet link, the web link to that particular article. So you see, students, it's extremely important, number one, to give references. Number two, to follow a particular pattern of writing. So in this particular group, I assume there are a number of scholars, but you all must be from humanities, education, or psychology. There may be some from other departments as well. But once again, I would say the final decision as to how you're going to cite a particular reference ultimately depends upon the university. But by and large, this is how the citations are given, subject or discipline wise, right? So just a quick recap. This is how you would write a journal article. This is how you would write a book. This is how you would write a chapter in a book. This is how you would do in-text citations. Wherever the idea has been taken, it must be attributed to. It must be acknowledged. And if I find it relevant, how do I get further details? I go directly to the reference section, which is given by each and every author or each and every researcher. And there I'm going to see every possible detail. Again, as I said last time, if the book has not been converted into an ebook, then I would get the ISBN number, which also would, and I would also get the name of the publisher in that case. So I would also be able to identify the book or probably buy that book if it is so important for me in terms of my research. I would also like to show you that sometimes when we are doing the references, of course, the references are at the end of my dissertation. So right now here in the right on the top, the first row, I have the original text from the source. And I find that this has been written by White and Prentice in the year 2016, page 27. And it exactly suits a particular idea in my thesis. So what is the way to incorporate it? Can I take it directly word by word? The answer is yes, you can. You can take it word by word, provided you follow four very important points you need to remember. Number one, if you want to take a particular passage word by word, then you need to take care of 4 points. Number one, it should be in inverted quotes. Number two, it should have the name of the author. Number three, it should have the year in which it was published. Number four, it should have the page numbers. And number five, it should be there in the reference section. So when I go to the reference section, I must see White and Prentice 2016. Again, when I'm looking for, supposing I don't want to follow the point number one, I don't want to take it point by point, word by word. Then I have option number two, that is to paraphrase it and to use the same ideas, but now in my own words. So I have converted, I have read those 5 lines very, very carefully, 4 lines very, very carefully, and then I'm putting it in my own words, but still I have to give the reference of White and Prentice, year 2016, page number 27, but this time not in direct quotes because I have paraphrased it. In the third option, you can see that again, the quotes have come back because few words have been taken directly, but yet you would find the reference of the author, the year, and the page number. And the last one, the sequence has changed. But you see the White and Prentice 2016 has come right on top. And then you have written, again, you have put it in quotes and you've given the page number. Either of these things are permissible. But whatever you do, you have to ensure that the author's name is very well displayed, that the author is the primary author from whom I have taken help. From whom I found relevant, therefore I took an idea. If I want to take it word by word, I need to put it in quotes. And if I don't take it word by word, I have to put it in paraphrase. I have to understand the meaning and I have to write it myself. And before I go to my next topic, that is paper publication, just one word of caution. Supposing I do not write a reference, so what? There are researchers right now from Navrachana, we have uploaded to Shodhganga. They have got 10 pages of reference. Supposing I do not write the name of Banos Caballero S. Garcia Teruel, I don't write the reference. So what? What is going to happen? Well, what is going to happen is, students, if you do not give the in-text citation, what is going to happen? Who is going to find out? UGC has taken the final step in that direction. So they have come out with a software which is called the Urkun software. And if the same passage does not have the names of the authors, I take them off. And I write it as though I'm the one who has written this entire passage. Then the moment a thesis has to be given to an examiner, before that, the thesis has to be run through a software called the Urkund software. And Urkund is a global database. So just like Shodhganga has got 290,000 theses, Urkund has got infinite sources of data of any research done anywhere in the world. So supposing I was to take off the name of Joes, Lancaster and Stevens 1996 and then submit it through Urkund, it will immediately give me a plagiarism index saying that this idea belongs to Joes, Lancaster and Stevens. This is the name of their book. This is the year it was published. These were the number of pages. And this is the DOI where you can find that book. So even if I don't give it, the moment we submit it for examination to an examiner, it has to be supported by an Urkund document which says that your thesis work manuscript is free of plagiarism. The index, as I showed you before, is below 10%. If it is more than that, it means in several sections, I have used a lot of matter from the work of another researcher, but deliberately not given acknowledgement. So reference is very, very important. But in-text citation is also extremely important. Reference writing is very important. In-text citation is important. When you put it through Urkund, you don't give the reference. You only give the chapters. So unless it has been referred to in the form of an in-text citation, there also we may have a very high plagiarism index. And I also already shared with you what could be the associated penalties. Okay. So I now move to my second topic, and my second topic would require me to stop share and again share. So just give me a minute, students. I would share an article which I have downloaded because when I'm talking about paper publication, every journal that you publish your paper in is going to give you a particular pattern or a format. But in general, this is going to be how your paper publication should address. This is a research paper that I have taken. Most journals today value a research paper. Most conferences want research evidences. They want more empirical research. Conceptual papers are very, very rare. Of course, they are accepted. In many journals, they are accepted. But I have taken a research paper because that is now very, very widely accepted. So the name of this paper, so right on top, you can see the title of the paper, The Diversity in Learning Styles and Implications for Higher Education. You can see how the author's name and institution name and email ID has been deliberately taken off because this paper has to now undergo screening. So the name of the author does not have to be given so as to ensure objectivity. After that comes the abstract, always written in the form of one single paragraph. An abstract is never going to have two paragraphs. It is always written in the form of a paragraph. And the abstract will give you, in a very small and concise manner, an understanding of the entire research. So it is going to talk to you about the design, the methodologies adopted, the tools adopted, the data analysis done, the findings, and all that is going to be given in the abstract. So anyone who wants to know more about your paper can get a brief of it in the abstract. So as I said, the abstract will always be written as one paragraph, never as two paragraphs. And below that is going to be a list of keywords which will help in identification of your paper. The introduction will give, it's a paper, it's not a thesis. So the introduction is going to be a mix of the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework. Theoretical framework means the existing body of knowledge from which you want to take a small idea and you want to conduct your research. So the introduction is going to be an amalgamation of your theoretical framework, followed by your conceptual framework. Theoretical framework is the established body of knowledge, and conceptual framework is the idea or the concept from that entire body of knowledge which you're now going to use for your research. So conceptual framework is the subset of that particular theoretical framework. And then slowly, as you are developing your conceptual framework, you would support it by a review of related literature given over here. The review of related literature will help you to establish that a lot of people have already done work in this area, or a lot of people have not done work in this area. But let me just slightly increase the font size and show you. You look at this related literature paragraph and see the number of citations which have been given. BT 1986, Dunn et al. 1989, Curry 1987, Bansal and Supe 2007. So any ideas which have been taken for this particular review have also been done in the form of in-text citations. And if I want to know what Bansal and Supe have actually talked about, I go to the last section of this paper and check the references. So the introduction is, as I told you, it is an amalgamation of the theoretical framework, the conceptual framework, and the review of related literature, which is either directly related or it is similar, but not too similar. And from there will emerge the need of your study. And next comes the methodology of your study. So it is given very, very clearly in what way you're going to be conducting your research. Now, this particular researcher has also given it so nicely. He's talked about the ethics that he has practiced. And he says over there that I have used a particular VARK scale, which is a 16 multiple choice VARK scale version 7.1. But I have used this, I have downloaded it from the VARK homepage and I have used it. So nicely he has given it in the ethics section. Nobody should know that this study was not conducted. It was not done on his tool. It was done by a tool which was downloaded, and he has given it under the ethics section. Wonderfully done. Then he has also given the study procedure, which we call the study methodology. And in that, you will find out what is the sample size. Yesterday, Dinesh sir was talking about the sample size, and you're going to find what was the tool. The tool is also given to you over here. It's a questionnaire. And finally, he's talking about how he is going to analyze this particular data. It was primarily a quantitative analysis, and he has also given you the findings of phase 1. Now, this appears to be a phase 2 study, 2 phases. So dependent on the findings of phase 1, he is going to be conducting the phase 2. So if phase 1 would give him a certain kind of result, then phase 2 would be initiated. So I assume he's got that result. So he has initiated phase 2. In phase 2, again, he has given every detail of phase 2. What is the hypothesis? What were the objectives? What is the hypothesis? What were the tools employed? This time again, he has taken a standardized tool. The intelligence test by J.C. Ravin's achievement test was designed by the researcher. He's given us the study procedure. He's given us the sample. He's given us the analysis techniques, and he's given us the conclusions and implications of phase 1 and phase 2 together. He has then also given us, see at the bottom, he's given us the references. I was talking to you about Bansal and Supe, who is over here, Bansal and Supe, 2007. Now here is an in-text citation, and here is the exact reference. Now this paper, I believe, was written a long time back, so it does not follow the protocols of APA 7th edition, but here is Bansal and Supe, 2007. If you want any other study, any other researcher over here whom the researcher has referred to, let us take just one more example. Let us take just one more example. If I was to take the example of, whom shall I take? An example, let's take Biggs and Murray. Or let us take Jonathan and Wang, 1993. Now let me see if the researcher has given the reference at the bottom. It's Jonathan and Wang, 1993. So is this researcher ethical? Yes, it seems that he's ethical. Yes, so he has taken matter from there, but he has given every detail about that author, the book that he has published or the article that he has published. The name of the journal is Journal of Computer-Based Instruction, volume number 20, issue number 1, pages 1 to 8. So yes, he's a very, very ethical researcher. And at the end of it, not only the references, he has also acknowledged the university for affording him permission to conduct his study. And he has thanked the participants who have helped or who have been the sample in order to help him to conduct. He's also thanked the subject experts for validation. So in short, in how many pages was this? This entire thing was on how many pages? I think this is page number 1, and that's page number 2, and that's page number 3. No, and that's page number 4. So in 4 pages, he has given you every detail of how 2 phases of the study was conducted. 2 phases, not 1. So method 1, and for every phase, he's given you every possible detail. The methodology, the tool, whether it was a standardized questionnaire, not a standardized questionnaire, what were the ethical practices followed, every detail of both phases was given to you, and so beautifully formatted. The paper is so beautifully formatted. So when you're writing a paper, I just want to make it small in order to make it too small, but yet you can see how beautifully formatted the paper is. It has a graph. Look at the references. Everything is so neatly formatted, and there's hardly anything which is not there in the paper. Hardly anything. The abstract is written so well. The title is given. The abstract is written in one single paragraph. So the researcher is obviously aware of all the requirements of APA 7th edition. You look at the introduction, so neatly formatted. Everything is given so neatly. The method phase 1, every detail about the design is given, the tools are given, the ethics part, the analysis, the findings. Then comes to method 2, phase 2, the objectives, the hypothesis, tools. Everything has been given, the sample, the analysis, conclusion and implication. And in the last part, he's giving the references. This is an APA 6th edition, and the acknowledgements. So neatly it has been arranged. Probably the journal to which he was sending may have given him the format, but I believe it is a very well structured paper. There is absolutely no information that you will not get from this paper. If you want to know about the tools, it's there. The methodology is there. The references are there. The in-text citations are there. The correlation between the two of them are there. The acknowledgements is there. The ethics is there. The standardized questionnaire, the ethics over there is also there, that I have not used my tool. I've used a standardized tool. So nicely he has written that the tool has been taken from this particular website. That also he has given. So nicely, it has been downloaded from the Vacuum. So it does not claim to do anything by himself, that he has taken this matter from these particular standardized tools. The study procedure is there. And at the end, he also writes that he has given due acknowledgement to all the people who were willing sample for his study. Okay, students, I think I have done enough of talking. I've been asked to conclude by 45. So I'm concluding at 6:30. If you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer. If I can. If I can't, I will read it and I will share it with Dr. Ruby to be shared with you. Over to you. So do they write it in the chat box, Ruby sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, they write it in the chat box. Okay. I can see many of my PhD scholars also here.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm Krupaja.
Yes, Kripaja, very nice to hear from you. Yes.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Thank you.
It was nice to listen to you after a long time.
Thank you.
So anyway, it was very informative and interesting, as all your classes we had during the general coursework. And you always insist on the diligence a researcher should keep up while doing a research. And it was very clear, concise, and comprehensive. So thank you very much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you. So yes, if there are no questions, there are two options. Either everyone has understood everything. And believe me, after taking so many precautions also, we have been facing, when you write to a journal which is of the category of ABTC, that is Scopus indexed, or it is a UGC Care listed journal, even after you've taken so many precautions, you've constantly checked whether all the references have been given, you're looking at the passage, you're looking at the reference section, still you find that they are going to give you certain sets of modification, that this is missing, something else is missing. They want you to add something. But don't ever let it demotivate you. You write a paper, even if you get certain revisions, it's all right. It only upgrades the standards of your work. So if they say they're not happy with certain sections, work on it. There are times when it takes about 6 to 8 months to publish a paper. And in a good journal, it could be a little less than a year also. It's going to take you that much time to publish in an ABTC journal. Even UGC listed journals take a lot of time to publish. But if you've gone through their revision process, you can rest assured your paper is definitely of very good quality, and that is why it was accepted. So do not worry about those revisions. Keep doing the work. Publications will take time, but then you will be very happy at the end that you got it published in a very good journal. And while you're thinking about the questions, recently we received a mail from UGC that in the PhD general coursework, 2 credits of reference writing has to be done mandatory. So what I spoke to you in about an hour, we have to do over a period of 30 hours. We have to teach our scholars to become very familiar with the APA style of writing. And a thesis is normally of 250 pages, between 200 and 250 pages. You can imagine the large number of people or authors whom you have been referring to. And therefore, the reference section is easily 10 to 15 pages. So writing that, doing the in-text citation, constantly checking it with the references is a very tall task. So they have asked us to conduct a 2-credit course in which everything about professional ethics, academic integrity, knowing more about Urkund, how to analyze the Urkund document. That is something which is very nice. I wish I had some more time. I would have shared with you an Urkund analysis, how beautifully and critically the Urkund document analyzes each and every sentence. And even better than Urkund, scholars, is a software that we have which is called Turnitin. Turnitin is so sensitive, it will take 3 words at a time and say you have taken this 3 words from this article written by this author in the year 2015. It is so sensitive. Its database is so powerful. So we researchers need to be very careful. And what happens is, scholars, you may start the work in 2015, but you're submitting it in 2020. So anything that you have read in 2015, you have to very carefully document it, because in 2020, when you're submitting, you may forget some of these authors whom you have referred to. So this is this 5-year period is very, very serious. It has to be very regularly visited, and your in-text citations have to be given very carefully. So referencing is a very important part. And the last part is putting it through a software like Gurkund, which is so sensitive. It will immediately let you know that you have forgotten to give acknowledgement to a particular author. And as I told you, the penalties can be really bad. So, Dr. Robi, I think there are no questions for me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I believe.
Thank you so much, ma'am.